Good morning, troops. Hopefully you can all hear me. Let's see what we have today. Morning, Steve. Oh yes, I think it's gonna be quite a short class today. I think it's gonna be Lasso. Where is it? I think I put, here it is, Lasso Guard. Perfect. We're gonna take a look at Lasso today. Again, we took a little, we have seen it in the past, but I've added some new stuff to it. Next week we'll do reverse the lever. I'm still editing the class, but let's get on with it. So Lasso Guard, it's not much to it, but I'm gonna mix it up with the triangles lesson at the same time, because we did a bit of we finished our passing chain and we did our back chain. We looked at open guard a couple of weeks ago, so next up I want to do specific open guard scenarios. So we're gonna go from reverse de la to sitting guard and some other guards, but this is just, we're just gonna kind of look at the guards we already seen just to recap on them. So I'll start with kind of triangle, because this is basically your first kind of open guard scenario, where you start from closed guard and then you start opening your guards. Okay, for every guard we're gonna have some attacks and sweeps. Again, I'm just starting with this triangle lesson, but it's not an actual triangle lesson, but we're just looking at all the open guard options for now, just so we get familiar with it. So this is our clamp guard entry. Clamp guard is quite an underused guard. It is a guard in its own. This is basically it, where we have kind of legs trapping the person. It's almost like half a triangle scenario. And from there, I'm just kind of going for the triangles. But again, that could be a guard in itself. We can look at loads of options from there. I didn't get my drawing tool out. There we go. Perfect. Collar and sleeve would be our next kind of one. This could be from the person standing, and it's often how we're gonna get to our lasso scenarios that we're gonna see in a second. So from here, she stands, I set up my foot on the hip, foot on the bicep. That would be our collar and sleeve. Again, this is just a triangle setup, but we can use it for anything that we want. So again, we should be familiar with collar and sleeve guard. Foot on the hip, foot on the bicep. The main thing is these two grips here. That's what determines collar and sleeve. So we can set up. Now from here, it's usually where we're gonna kind of move on to the lasso. If kind of our guard isn't quite working yet, we'll start looping this over to set up our lasso guard. This could be at any stage you like. So now going back to the lasso guard, this will be kind of the standing entry. You could go from spider guard as well, just like this. I take the collar, that's our collar and sleeve, and now I transition to my lasso. Now the beauty about Lasso Guard, we are able to kind of slow down the fight into our controls. It can be a defensive and an offensive position, so you can kind of get your breath back in these kind of guards. And the main reason why a lot of people kind of use it. It's a great way to slow down the fight in terms of if you're fighting someone much faster than you. It's a good guard to go to. You can play shallow lasso, deep lasso, or sometimes you can just put your foot onto the kind of shoulder level there. These are all kind of labeled as Lasso Guard. You have to kind of develop your style and which one you like more. There isn't one better than the other. It just depends on your body type. But that's kind of our lasso entry there. So we'll go from closed guard to open guard and then look for our lasso entry. Most commonly from standing, or next up would be our kneeling entry. It's our opponent kneeling here. I'm just going to shrimp, throw my leg over the top, and that's us in Lasso Guard. Now often we kind of get put into lasso by people setting up kind of forcing you into your half guard. It should be this case over here. She's forced me into half guard, and she's going for a very common pass that we call leg weave here. We did look at it, I think, in the passing chain, where she herself threads her arm through to grab my trousers there so she can start pressure passing me. So in this case, I'm just going to take the sleeve, and that will put us in the lasso guard itself. And that would be our standard lasso sweep. Most people should know this. Kind of use both legs to sweep here. I create a pivot point by stepping my foot on the floor and just twisting my hips. And then as a bonus, I'm just grabbing the trousers there to kind of sit up and use both of my knees to sweep. Kind of end up in this odd position where you're leaning on the bicep, but just get up as fast as you can to secure the points. You are kind of left in half guard, so do be careful of the person coming up for underhooks and recovering the position. Now these are kind of the most traditional move you're gonna go for in terms of lasso. There's not much. That's kind of the fundamental sweep that you're gonna learn, and it can be quite difficult to kind of execute the sweep itself because it's taught everywhere, and a lot of people start to kind of put all their weight onto the opposite side so they don't get swept. The times it works great is when people are trying to pressure you, or they're kind of just staying in the middle there. So we need kind of something when the lasso sweep's not working. And this is what makes great lasso players, isn't that they're good at the lasso sweep itself. They can be very good at that, but it's the combinations of moves that they can do from there that determines kind of how good they know their lasso guard is. So here I'm going to go for the same sweep, but my opponent here is leaning all their weight back there. They know the sweep is coming. Instead of trying to force the sweep, I'm going to loop my leg out and do a quick arm drag to expose the back. This works great. Again, if you've been to Caesar's lessons, you probably learned this, but it's a great move. Now, if you got long legs or the person's pressuring you and not giving you enough distance, that leg is going to be really difficult to take out. So like I said, make sure that you're going for it when the person's giving you, they're just backing away, not putting any pressure on you. So then you have plenty of room to take your leg out and do the arm drag. If you try this at the wrong time, you're basically going to give up on your knee shield or your lasso, and if the person dives in at the right time, they will get an underhook on you, and it would be pretty embarrassing to get smashed. Now, moving on, we have the attacks. So far we kind of did a sweep, then a transition towards the back, and then next up would be our submissions that we can go for to keep our lasso kind of in a threatening scenario as well, instead of just looking for sweeps. And one of the most common ones is this Clark Gracie omoplata, which just is, I have my lasso there and I'm going to take a collar grip to make sure that my opponent sticks on me. And now from here, this grip here is going to transfer to the triceps. There we go. And now I can kind of kick my leg through and pull on the grip at the same time. And that kind of exposes a shoulder forward. And I get kind of this lasso scenario here. And then this will be a lesson in itself, but any lasso variation that you like, that's just the traditional sit up and try to submit them. But you could go for any move from there. So again, the collar grip is the important factor here. If I don't have this collar grip, I won't have her shoulder towards me. So make sure you set up a nice strong collar grip so you can pull and push at the same time. And it's just a basic kick through. So far we looked at the kind of standing entry of the collar and sleeve setup, which is person stands, I set up my lasso. Whoop, that's just, it would be from here, sorry. Kneeling, we're standing. Ooh, add the stand thing. But basically, we'll do the kneeling first. I can't find it. But anyway, the kneeling entry. Shrimp, set up your lasso. Happy days. So the whole chain would be, you're trying to do your lasso sweep. That's the first one. Lasso sweep isn't working because they got their weight backwards. We'll tend to move on to the arm drag. And if you're submission hunting, we're setting up our Clark Gracie omoplata. Grab the collar, hold the triceps, kick through, and sit up. Those were all our kneeling kind of scenarios there. Moving on to the standing. Here's our entry. There's our lasso setup. Now you can play lasso with feet on the biceps, feet on the hips, half guard, reverse de la Hiva. There's tons of different scenarios to play lasso guard. And it can also be kind of a defensive kind of guard to use when someone's trying to toreada you, where they're walking to the side. You throw the leg over and set up your lasso. So kind of very versatile in terms of how to play it. But this is just our traditional setup. In terms of sweeps, we have our, so here I'm going to shrimp to the side, get my, in this case this is the most non-traditional sweep actually from the standing version. I call it the Stomp Sweep. I'll show you clips of the person who kind of showed this move in a bit, but it looks like this. Notice how I'm gonna move my hips kind of to the other side to make it easier for me to get a deep lasso grip. So there, and I'm gonna shoot my leg as deep as I can, hooking just kind of like a reverse de la Hiva hook behind her kind of hamstrings there. Then I'm gonna put my foot on the floor, shrimp one more time, and now it's a basic kind of butterfly reverse hook where I push and get up on top. Again, lots of different transitions to it, but that's the basic sweep. I'll see if I can find a person in a second. But a very powerful sweep. Tons of great Gi players use this in Lasso. The other kind of common move is the spin under, which is the equivalent of the Lasso Sweep from the knees. Which is, I'm going to set up my lasso again, but this time I'm going to let go of the far sleeve, the non-lasso, and try to spin underneath my opponent so I can kind of curl my leg down and sweep them over. Again, the lasso is doing most of the work there. All I have to do is get underneath my partner, which is going to be the hard part. If she walks backwards, not letting you grab those legs, you're going to have a hard time getting underneath. But in most cases, if you can get underneath, you're just going to leg press away. Now, for all of these sweeps, you're probably going to get into very scrambly positions. Because the lasso itself, it doesn't land you in a perfect spot. If you can see all of our sweeps, we kind of land in this kneeling bicep scenario, which most of the time doesn't have any control over our opponent's legs, so they can turn pretty easily to try to get up. So be aware of that anytime you do a lasso sweep, especially these high altitude ones where you're both rolling at the same time. Here, this is one, the stomp. There. After the person gets swept, they're usually quite angry that they got swept, and they're gonna try to scramble out of the points in most scenarios, especially if you do a nice looking sweep like this. Now, let's see if I can find the clips now. Now, the reason why I did triangles with lasso is because they work great together. So these kind of free guards, lasso with omoplatas and triangles, that's usually kind of that's how you kind of get your first little offensive style of guard playing. If you can just spam those moves, you have quite an offensive guard, and it's not something kind of crazy hard to do. We have our collar sleeve set up for the triangle, which is here, which is one step away from the lasso, so you can always kind of attempt this where I'm just shooting for my triangle, and if you can't get it, the next best thing is to just set up your lasso guard. Same for the spiders entries that we do. We can go for spider attacks first and then set up our lasso, or if it doesn't work, we can set up a lasso, so you can get quite an offensive little guard. Any questions so far? Let me just check if I can find Lasso Sweep. I'll find a quick one that won't get my YouTube banned. I think if I turn off the sounds, it will last a few days. But here's the main probably one of the best lasso players. See if I can find one of his sweeps. Alright, so the first example is going to be a regular lasso sweep that he does. Trying to get to the mats. Hopefully the vaccines get sorted soon, and then we can all get back to training. I did get a letter saying they're starting to give it around our Borat. I'm just waiting for my turn. Now this one isn't that exciting. That's just the regular lasso one. He grabs the sleeve. He does that. Let me see if I can find the good one. I'm showing in little clips because then I can basically just cut them out after. Becomes easier. Here's a strong. I don't even know how he this. This is equivalent. This is a version of the Stomp Sweep here. So in this variation, you can see it. I don't even know how he managed to get this one, but he's got his legs pretty smashed to the side, but he still has his lasso guard. And that's the far hook there. He's stomping. You can see he just leg pressed the guy's entire weight. Now, like I said, because it's such a scrambly position, look at all his sweeps. He does the sweep, but the kind of guy scrambles back on top. See if I can find another one. He had it's surprising because he doesn't do much. He doesn't show much of his actual fights in here. Maybe this one. In terms of, let's see. In terms of finishes from the lasso sweeps, this is what I wanted to look at the most. The kneeling variation. I'll give you what I think is the best kind of scenarios to actually finish the sweeps. I didn't show them. For the kneeling one, I think trousers grip is probably the most important one. So when you, sorry, it's not this one, it's this one. Yeah. So I think keeping this one, you have to be a bit nasty. Keeping the sleeve and grabbing the trousers as you come up. I think that's the most important factor to keep this. See, I did it wrong there. I still let go of the sleeve. I think I should pull up on that sleeve, kneel on the bicep, kind of do a little biceps slice on it, and try to hold on so that the person doesn't scramble. In terms of the lasso leg kind of back take, the only tip I can give you there is once you drag, make sure that you just jump on top as fast as you can, because the person's going to try to shake you off. And don't over kind of lean on the person. Just get up to your knee by flaring it, and then you'll be in a good kind of stance to start taking it back. The standing ones, this is the one that's really kind of complicated to finish the sweep. We saw Jamil there kind of struggling to stay on top as well. But for the stomp sweep, which is this one, there's a couple ways to get up, and they all feel really uncomfortable. Because as you can see, I have a sleeve of this end, I can't get up on my elbow, and I'm kind of struggling. So the kind of best scenario, let me see if I actually do it. Nope, I just do the rubbish one. It's usually to pass the sleeve to the other hand. So from here, I'd pass the sleeve from my left hand to my right hand, and then I can basically get up without struggling like I did. But that's just against explosive persons. Again, if someone just accepts the sweep, you'll be fine. But if they don't accept the sweep, then you're in a bit of trouble. Any questions about the lasso stuff? We'll be moving on to our little breakdown stuff now. And let's see. We already did the triangle stuff. So like I said, probably next week we'll be able to combine everything together for the next slices. But let's see what we've been up to in our roles lately. So that is the end of the official class in terms of lessons. That was the lasso chain. It's kind of short guard because there's not much moves. I do want to add a lot more to it, but it's usually just transitions to different guards, or different submissions. Like there's a lot of collar chokes that we can do, transitions to butterfly, to one leg X if the person steps up. So there's a lot more to Lasso Guard than just these sweeps. But at some point it's not Lasso Guard anymore. That's right, I didn't show any of those. So that would be just raw lasso. In terms of breakdowns, let's see what we did. See what kind of mistakes me and Chris did this week. Alright, I don't think I broke this one down yet. Sorry for the terrible quality. I'll do this. Alright, so I'm in the bottom here. Lately we've been working on reverse de la Riva because I want to do reverse de la Riva lesson next week. So that's what we're trying to play on the bottom most of the time. This is the first bit that I get. I already have a nice wader grip set up there. They're probably gonna be difficult to see. Ooh, I'll move this a bit. Which is there. I've already looped myself underneath. That's our wader grip. That's our reverse de la Riva in place right now. She does a good job keeping this leg down. That's the main kind of killer for the reverse de la Riva. So you can see her hand there trying to keep that leg away. I'm spinning underneath. Right here, I could have arm barred her. You can see that arm is completely straight. I'd have to take my reverse de la Riva hook out and thread it through this little gap here, and this leg would go over her head. That would be me with an arm bar, but I'm kind of trying to force myself underneath. There you can see a little arm bar attempt, but she takes her arm out instantly. She realizes it, and she gets a nice stacking position for me. So in my notes, this is my first mistake I do. 40 seconds, it's 47 seconds of the match. I already did a mistake. That's how it usually goes. So right now, you should never kind of over invert in a reverse de la Riva like this by throwing your legs in a big circle. You should always have your knee close to your chest and spin underneath. And this is the main reason why, because she can stack me pretty easily. So she did the correct thing there. There, I get a nasty stack. Forces me to roll back on my neck. Not pleasant. And now I'm pretty fucked up in this position. Now I'm kind of like pushing her away here, but you can see she weighs a lot less than me, and she can still kind of pressure me in that L position. It forces me to turtle to not give up the pass. Again, she's trying to keep me stacked, but she was unsuccessful in that little sequence there. So here's her first mistake here. Here she should have re-dragged me back to leg drag. Instead, she just kind of lets me circle that leg out and re-guard. Let's see what's happening here. Now we have half guard. Again, I'm just trying to force her to stand or play open guard so I can set up reverse de la Riva. She tries a long step pass followed by nice sequence here. Now let's just see what happens here a little bit better. I can't really see the grips, but that's me reverse de la Riva. I take one sleeve and I'm looking for the second sleeve here. So I'm not really controlling her legs at this point. She takes my collar grip and she does a long step now, but I still have her sleeve, which kind of saves me here. There. So I can kind of half sweep her, but she can just recover because I don't have any control over her. Then she does a nice throw bypass. I don't know how. But my leg's just in the wrong place here. She throws my leg over the top. And then I'm forced to recover by throwing my leg over the top. You can see me smiling there because that was a good move by her. Throw my leg over on top. She does the same thing on the other side. She crushes that leg. So you can see that big arch is no good. And I give up the pass here. She goes straight to the back, which is nice. I'm able to recover because I think I had one of my hands near her hip. She's trying to, so there's some float passing here. Gives up the back, but I come up on top. She recovers. Nice. Now we're on de la Riva. Set up the belt. Trying to off balance her. That's just me. So every time she steps over my hook is imagine my imaginary hook here. That would be my leg. Every time she steps over, I'm just trying to kind of leg press her in that direction with a collar drag so I can try to get my foot free. That's kind of a standard reverse de la Riva recovery. So now my foot is on her far hip there. So she can't knee slice me, and I've got my reverse de la Riva hook back. I take the belt grip. She pushes my hook down. I have to recover. There's her long step again into a leg drag. I still have a lasso here, so it saves me. Here's me trying to get that deep lasso hook, but she doesn't let me again. Now I'm sitting up, so she lets me get her sleeves really easily here, which is no good for her. She did try Toriada, which should be your first kind of attempt. Other little setups you can do, you can just kind of bother her by flicking the heads or trying to go for the upper body so they forget about the lower body. But right now I think she's just playing a bit passive. Knee slice to leg weave to X pass there. I managed to set up reverse de la Riva again. But you can see this week we're not doing very good in terms of reverse de la Riva moves. We're just using it defensively. So hopefully by the next row we'll be a bit more attacking. There's our first kind of reverse de la Riva move. Kiss of the Dragon to a pretzel bolo. She's off shot. She clears her knee line. I try to drag. She crumbles on top. Now she's realizing that I've been setting up lasso quite a bit, so now she's not letting me anymore. There's another reverse de la Riva attempt to kiss the dragon. Managed to get underneath this time. Now once my head is through, I'm kind of safe from the stack. She kind of lunges herself to give up, to not give her back away. So there, if she stayed in this position, I would have taken her back. So she kind of loops over. I was a bit too slow following there. This is me trying to get crab ride. So I kind of roll into pretty much nothing there. This is just leg fighting for hooks. And again, I lose position from there. Mainly because she's very flexible with her knees. So it's very hard to get a hook inside to control her knees. Because there's no space. And she scrambles on top. Here's double guard pull. I try to burn bolo. She just takes top position. Again, fighting for that De La Riva control first of all. And that's time. So from this row, the notes I'm going to add here are, so reverse De La Riva, we don't want to throw our legs over, that's a bad habit I kind of have. That's for me. For her is re-drags from the stack. So here, when she's losing kind of the leg drag position because I'm grambling, she could drag this back if she wanted to, instead of just backing away. So pressure passing for her. Her long step needs a bit of work. She's long stepping at wrong times and from a high altitude, which is no good. This is another mistake I made where I'm throwing my leg over the top like this instead of stomping, and I get a nice little punishment for it where I get crushed. I almost get my back taken. De La Riva work is kind of difficult right now because she's really good at stopping my hooks. But here, she's got some decent counters to my recovery. She could go leg weave every time I kind of float her up. But other than that, that's our main ones. I think I'll focus on this clip. Yeah. So this one, just gonna change it. Right, so hopefully next week we'll see some better De La Riva moves from me and her. If not, you guys can take Kirsten's stripes away or something. Can't take mine, I don't have any stripes yet. Guys, have a lovely week. Any questions about anything, fire them away now. Before I go, hopefully that makes sense in the lasso chains and stuff. But yeah, like I said, we'll do reverse De La Riva next week, hopefully, if I get all the clips right. So look forward to some back takes next week. Have a lovely week. And take care. I'll see you guys on Monday.